the title of today's session is Global Stage, the dual approach. We call it a dual approach because it obviously has two main components. And we're going to explore today how to use them both together. And a sandwich to success. And we're using the sandwich analogy because global stage is like a sandwich. If you look at a sandwich, it's actually one of the most delicious and easy to eat meals, especially when you want to give it to children. And we compare the components of global stage to a sandwich because it makes the analogy clearer and it makes a little bit of sense once you see what we mean. So a sandwich has two components. It has the bread that is we all agree that the smell of fresh bread, freshly baked bread, always puts us in a good mood, right? So we have a couple of layers of bread, top layer, bottom layer, and we've got the filling that has all of the identity of the sandwich, the flavor, the taste, the uniqueness, and the nutritional value. So which parts of the lesson are the bread that helps you put everything together, hold it, and which one of it is the flavor that gives it the uniqueness and the taste and the sauces, the nice sauces that drip all over the bread and gives it its identity. So if you can see on the screen, what type of language activity do you think this is? And I'm looking at the chat box now. Any guesses? Now, this is a clear one. This is a grammar activity. This one right here is, yes, that's right. This one right here is quite easy. This is a listening activity. What about this one? Any guesses what this activity might be? The clue is right here. Take the stage. Take the stage is one of the speaking activities in Global Stage, which focuses on presentation skills. What about this one? This one is quite easy. The key here is non-fiction. So this is a reading activity. Right here, this one is pretty straightforward, very easy. This is a vocabulary activity. This one is writing. And yeah, another reading activity. This time it's fiction. And this is the critical thinking activity that goes with the reading. So how is the sandwich formed out of these different activities? Before delving into that, before talking about that, let's see what are the aims that we're trying to achieve through Global Stage and how the book actually will help you achieve these goals. So the first thing that we want to see in our students is confident production of language. And by confident, we mean communicating a genuine message, not just repeating language or drilling language or saying sentences that don't mean anything to them, but actually coming up with a message, communicating it. And of course, using correct language, intonation, pronunciation, and in case of writing, using the proper spelling, the proper paragraph organizing, and all this. We want that in communication. And then delivering with character and style. We'd like to see their young personality shine through their production, not just doing it as a task. We'd like to see their thinking and their character inside what they are producing and what they are communicating. And then we'd like them to develop learning and thinking skills. And it seems like a very broad idea, but we will see how in the book all of these aspects are integrated within the activities. And with very, very little steps, with very small changes that you can make to the discussion, you can achieve all of these things. So we'd like them to evaluate themselves, and we'd like them to use critical thinking, and we'd like them actually to form an opinion of their own, be able to justify that opinion and express it freely. Respecting and expecting respect for the opinion is a very important thing when we're asking them to learn language. Language is a vessel of thought. If we do not encourage them to have their own thinking, have their own opinions, then it's just an empty vessel, right? And by this self-awareness, by being aware of themselves, we'd like them to develop learning strategies that actually work for them. And yes, it can be done from a very young age. Empowerment and character building is all about helping them build their character to have enough confidence to achieve this self-awareness and achieve opinion forming. So, through global citizenship, social emotional learning, values that are embedded inside the global stage syllabus, we will explore together how to do that. We live in a global world, and unless our students, our children, are confident and are totally accepting of who they are, what their culture is, we cannot expect them to influence the world. So they need to know where they come from, what their place is on this globe, and they how from their own place they can influence this world. And by seeing that they don't need to imitate anyone else, they don't need to talk like anyone else, dress like anyone else. By being themselves, this is the only way they can influence the world. And throughout the global citizenship lessons in the book, you will see that all of the cultures are represented, not just one culture. So the children are not expected, if they're going to learn English, they're learning English to connect with the rest of the world and not to change who they are and change their culture and change their environment. And while we're teaching them to respect other cultures and accept them, we need to teach them to expect the same kind of acceptance to their own culture. Only then they become global citizens. So we start with the students, who they are, where they come from, their homes, their families. And from there, from providing them with this solid basis, they go to the rest of the world. Social emotional learning is covered in Global Stage through these five pillars. And as you can see, aspects like self-management and self-awareness, we often lecture our students about them. But in this book, they will be integrated into very small discussion points, discussion questions that are age appropriate. But you will see when you get into the habit of doing them genuinely and uh, truthfully, bit by bit, they will make a difference in building the children's social emotional learning and characters. And all of this leads to the development of the values that we all want to instill in our children. Values such as empathy, such as collaboration, being able to communicate your feelings, respecting others, all of these values that uh, we really aim to achieve. And none of this would happen if we do not develop a love of reading for life. Reading is not only a way to study, it is a window that will open their eyes to different kinds of knowledge and ideas and thoughts. And uh, the only way to do that is to give age relevant, thought provoking texts, as you will see later on, and by offering a variety of genres independent of what they can produce. We give them genres that are a little bit above their level right now, but for the aim of exposure and enjoyment. Stunning illustrations. So illustrations are very important at this for this generation because they are very visual. They are bombarded with visual cues everywhere. Social media, TV, everything is more colorful, everything is quicker, and they need the same kind of stimulation in what they read. And a stress-free reading, which we will come to as we explore the reading. We often expect too much of our students when we give them a reading text. So it is not meant to be like that. It's meant to be stress-free and enjoyable. If you see, this is an example of the reading text that we're going to explore later on today. Comes from level 2, and this one comes from level 5. And as you can see, it even looks different from what a typical textbook looks like. So after we've gone through what is it we're trying to achieve, let's go to the book And let's explore how literacy is used in global stage compared to more traditional approaches to reading. The reason why we'll start talking about literacy now and give you this brief is that, yes, you've guessed it, literacy is actually the filling of the sandwich. We are treating it like that. So why is literacy presented like that in global stage, and what is the best way to use it? Let's compare it to the more traditional way of teaching literacy. And if you can see, often reading is used as the main stimulus of the unit, where it's the direct source of vocabulary and grammar. Everything is taught and explored through the reading. Also, in this model, the reading text is the model for writing, which is not exactly what we're trying to do here, because we're trying to give them reading texts that are higher in level than what they can produce. So reading in this course book is definitely not the model for writing and shouldn't be used like that. Um, this is a more traditional way of treating literacy, and we're not saying it's wrong, but if you're aiming for a higher level of language exposure, we are moving a little bit away from this, because if you limit exposure to what the children can produce, you are limiting them to a lower level text, because you'd expect them to produce the same. And also, if text is used to study language, there's a risk of over analyzing the text. Sometimes we have seen teachers transform the reading text into something like this, which, as you can see, this is not really stress-free. This is stressful. And this is not why reading, what reading is supposed to look like. Um, so the model of global stage is that reading is used to expand the unit theme. So if the unit is about home, it is to expand different aspects of home, different feelings that are related to home. If so, the reading here is a thought-provoking tool. It helps them think. It helps them uh, stretch their critical thinking muscles, and it is for reflection and text engagement. It's also for exploring different text types and just enjoying the reading. Um, and this is the way global stage reading is introduced. So we're not saying that the grammar and vocabulary are not presented in the text. They are to an extent, but the aim of the text is not to study grammar and vocabulary. This is some research of why reading is important to learning the language. I leave you with this for 5 minutes, not 5 minutes, 5 seconds to read it. And if you see here, exploring the beauty of language, this is research-based, and reading to explore different text types, not necessarily produce similar text types. So where should I start? Why is there a separate book for reading? And how should I use both books together? This is what we're going to explore together. So as you can see, these represent the layers of our sandwich. And our suggested way of doing that is starting with the language book with our first vocabulary, topic introduction, and then first grammar, and then moving straight to the literacy book. This is the filling of the sandwich, exploring the literacy book, going through the reading and enjoying it, doing all the thinking activities, social emotional learning, and then going back to the productive activities when all of these thoughts generated from the reading will be dripping into this section of the sandwich. So this is what it looks like as a macro view, as an overall view: vocabulary, grammar, reading, and then global citizenship, which is the listening lesson, then another grammar, then the speaking and the writing. So we'd suggest that you start with these, then move on to the literacy, then move back to the language book, which is the sandwich. So if you notice, you will see that the two books share the same topic and share the same opening question. this is why we suggest integrating both of them together. You can actually start with the literacy book if you think your students can hold the sandwich without the top layer. You can have both layers at the bottom. But this is recommended if your students have got enough language base to start actually with the literacy. There's no right or wrong way here. It's according to your preference. But this starting with vocabulary, topic introduction, and the first grammar lesson, we think would provide more support for the students to get into the topic, learn some language around it, learn the grammar, and then move to the reading for a less stressful experience, if you can call it that. So this is a micro view. Let's dissect all of the lesson and see how they work together and how they integrate together. We're going to go through them really quickly just to give you an overview of how the unit works. And of course, each part, each skill can have its own full session later. So the way the book introduces vocabulary is by focusing on the main theme. So the students would discuss a picture, and then the listening would be introducing the words throughout a comic story, something that is actually light and funny. And as you can see here, the focus is on the main scene, and the question is asked, who is Luke? And students would explore that Luke is the baby, and this baby is mischievous. He keeps hiding things, stuff like that. So the focus here is on the main theme. And here, this is another example of level 5. We're going to show you a lower primary level and a high primary level. So it's the same. The focus here on the main theme with a question, comprehension question of a very small, intriguing story. After that, the students focus on each word through drilling activities and vocabulary games. Drilling means they get to practice intonation and pronunciation, and there are activities specifically done for that. So first, they focus on a main scene and a main story, a context for all of that, and then they focus on each word through drilling activities. Some fun drilling activities using, for example, the word alarm clock can be using a voice-o-meter. So they experiment with saying the word with different tones of voice, and sometimes also with the Navio app through playing memory games. This is actually your presentation kit. You could use it to play memory games for them to produce words. At this point, we'd like them to say single words. Then the visualization activity, where the book asks them to relax, close their eyes, listen, and visualize, where they hold their hands out. They would pretend that they're typing on a keyboard. It helps them activate their memories around these items and see themselves using it, if you can. The children really like these visualization activities. All you need to do is just follow the order of the book, and this is how you will see it working for them. Then you will see a categorizing activity where they categorize these words. It helps their critical thinking and it helps their memory as well. So here in this book, in this activity, it has a screen and it doesn't have a screen. All of them are words related to technology, but they learn to categorize them. You can play around with categorization with a lot of extension activity. This is the categorizing activity from level 5. So context, then individual words, then drilling, then visualization, then categorization. This is the vocabulary lesson. A tip is to use a drilling as a game for more fun, different voices, different emotions, and different speed. These are games from the teacher's book that you will find, some for drilling, some for categorization. You can expand as you wish. All of these would help the students remember the words. So for example, if we're going to drill a word like alarm clock, we would, how do you feel about alarm clocks? I personally hate alarm clocks. I do not like them. I never set an alarm clock. So if you ask the students to say the word with the emotion that they feel when they hear it, when they have to wake up early every morning, they would be, it would be something like alarm clock or oh, alarm clock. Or, but what if they are setting the alarm clock to go on a trip or go on a holiday, or they are expecting something nice to happen? So it would be alarm clock. Sometimes they wake up even before it and they can't wait for the clock to happen. So experimenting with different emotions can be a very good way to practice the vocabulary. And a part of the top layer of the sandwich is the grammar lesson. And here the grammar is presented through an inductive approach. So we present a funny story, a comic strip, very simple but easy to engage with. And the aim in the beginning is to get the students engaged in the context, focus on meaning, and asking comprehension questions. We are not here teaching the grammar rule yet. We are asking the students to engage with the grammar rule, but focused on the meaning and what's happening in the story. This actually will help them with linking grammar to meaning, and it will help them produce the grammar in meaningful context, as we say. So we start with meaning, and then we move to the form. And here the students are, we help them follow the guided discovery approach, where they actually fill in the rule according to what they have seen in the previous comic scene. Then they focus on form, and we always say that this focus on form and language is temporary. After that, we drag them back to meaning. So here they practice the structure. All of this is still focus on form, temporary. And then there is drilling, where they can repeat sentences. This helps them actually acquire a language habit and internalizing the structure, where we ask them to hold the sentence in their head, saying with different emotions, different feelings. And as you can see here, how often does she play video games? We sometimes watch TV after school. The way to expand this, we sometimes watch TV after school, hold that, and then start to hide words. The aim is to help the students say these sentences in order to form a habit. So we always watch TV after school. We always watch TV after school, and we always play games on the computer. So adding to that sentence in order to get them to say it, hold it in their head, and it helps them internalize the structure. Then back to meaning. So first focus on meaning, then focus on form, then back to meaning, a production activity focused on meaning. Now we want genuine ideas and true sentences. So how often do you watch TV? I rarely watch TV. We can use games like Two Truths and a Lie, and you can ask them to say true sentences, lie about things in order to add humor to the lesson. There are so many games that we can use. For example, I've written these 3 sentences about myself. I often play video games with my friends on my PlayStation. See how I use the grammar. And then I always use my computer to work. I hardly ever watch TV. So can you guess which one of them is the lie in what I've said? Yes, so then this session is recorded. So if we were playing this game in a classroom, you would all tell that it's pretty easy to tell that I obviously don't play PlayStation. But students might make it a little bit harder to guess, and a little bit funnier as well. So games like this, and you will find lots of them in the book through activities. So for example, have students think about their favorite moments and activities in school, have students draw a picture in their notebook and show it to their friends and try to guess what is happening. So this is to practice the present continuous. This is another lesson. We're playing on the playground. I'm talking. So see how genuine this expression is, how meaningful, and how it actually drags them back to meaning instead of practicing dull grammar worksheets, endless and endless worksheets. It never gets them to use this grammar to express something that they really want to tell. But these types of activities that you will find in the book, in the teacher's guide, are going to really help you do that. This is an example from level 6. So after practicing the grammar, the language, so complete sentence with the correct word, think and discuss, are sentences in E true for you? Where they get to really look at the sentence and say it, change it in a way that makes it true for them. Um, all we recommend is follow the order in the book. Try to get the students to say these sentences and use these grammatical structures in a meaningful way. This is to aid something called grammaring in the brain. Teaching the students about the grammar does not guarantee that they are going to learn that grammar. Grammar is a process that happens when they want to say something that they believe or personal to them or they know about themselves and they actually want to share it with you. Grammar needs to help them do that. And unless they get the chance and opportunity to say these things using this support of grammar, they're never going to acquire the grammar. They're never going to learn how to use it. So here, this is a sort of production activity, but with very, very, very supported and guided, if you know what I mean, use of language. So we give them the structure, feel free to use it in whatever sentence. Another example is when I ask the students to write 3 sentences in the present tense, like we've done here, a present simple tense. Instead of them being random sentences and true sentences, well, what do these sentences tell me about you? What is it that you want to tell me? If I use 3 sentences like, I always go to the gym, I never eat chocolate, I sometimes swim. So you'd understand that I'm trying to lose weight or I'm trying to be healthy. So always vary these activities so they can give more and more and more meaning and more structure to what they are writing instead of being just random sentences that are not true or just true sentences that are not related to each other. These kind of production activities will actually be the basis of the writing activities that come next. So the objective from grammar is to use correct forms, yes, but to communicate a real meaning, not to be able to solve tricky grammar tests. I know that all of us as teachers love to say, to do tricks, love to make it difficult, love to give them challenging worksheets, but this is not the aim. The aim is to make the rules simple, not to overwhelm them by tense comparisons and stuff like that. Um, and actually, it's okay to tell younger students which tense to use. There's plenty of tense comparison when they are older, but actually to help them use these tenses very simply, but in more complex meaning that have something to tell about them themselves is more important than train them from a very young age to compare grammar rules together. The more meaning you give grammar, the more the students get to use it in speaking and writing. And sometimes we get asked a lot, why is the grammar in global stage? Why does it seem scattered? And why does it seem uh, unrelated? It's because we want you to use these specific structures in communication and in productive language rather than giving a rule and giving all of the rules that are related to it and comparing rules together. This is not the aim of the grammar. Um, I'm looking at the chat. I'm so disappointed this app doesn't provide me with any possible option to write my own name. Do you mean the Teams app? Do you mean the meeting? I think you need to have registered to be able to appear with you. I can see a lot of people with their names here. But you're showing as a guest. It has to do with the way you have registered, actually. Not sure if that helps. So now, after we've introduced the topics, introduced the topic, which is technology, introduced basic vocabulary and grammar, we are now ready to move to the literacy. If you've got any questions on the previous section, feel free to type them either in the Q&A section or in the chat box. We'll tend to them when we see them. Let me go through the chat to see if there are any questions. Not so far. Yeah. All right. So moving on to the literacy book now, and this is where the students will be introduced to a world of flying hot air balloons and fancy characters. And here we start with this activity that is called the visual thinking routines. Visual thinking routines is a technique, is a critical thinking technique introduced by Harvard, and it actually serves to help you see what the students are thinking. So the traditional way of doing an activity like this is look at the picture, what can you see? And then quick students start saying things, and they start saying comments, and they start thinking about wondering stuff, while the rest of the students are still stuck on well, uh, trying to get anything said or trying to fit in with the rest of the classroom. So here, this technique is called see, think, wonder. First, we let them look at the picture and say what they see, just what they see. They only are allowed to say one word. This encourages the fast students to take their time and focus on the detail of the picture, and the slower students to actually be able to catch on and talk about things that they see. So, for example, here, if we do this activity, some boy might say, boy, book, read, glasses, bookcase, mug. So if we leave it at that, they might miss the robot, they might miss the window, they might miss what's behind the window, the shadows over there. But the more you help them look at the picture, the more they find details. Then what do you think? Oh, I think it's nighttime because it's dark outside. I think this is for example, I might think that this is not this boy's home. He's in a new place. Um, I don't think these are his glasses, to be honest, because the way you put on the reading glasses, this is not for this age, right? So this is what I think. I think he's trying to imitate someone. So let students say what they think, what they read into the picture, and what they think. And then I wonder, these are thoughts that the children don't have, and the picture doesn't answer. So whose house is this? What is this thing? I wonder what's in the cup, anything that they can come up with. And this is actually a preparation for a reading about a young inventor, the after school inventor. So this text right here is about a young inventor who tries and tries and tries and gets some inventions wrong. It's a very fun text. It's a poem, and uh, the students are presented with text spread across so many pages. So look how many pages, in order to help them read more complex text than their level, but at the same time get supported by all of the illustrations and pictures. Actually, the pictures tell as much stuff as the text does. So children get to look at the pictures, and we've trained them how to do that in the opening activity. I see, I think, I wonder. And then they start finding clues in the pictures and actually enjoying the pictures. In reading, all of this is the text, and in reading, you need to focus on the objectives in the book. So the objectives here are to read a rhyming story about an inventor, to explore the social emotional competency of self awareness by accurately recognizing strengths and limitations, to make a personal connection to the reading. That's it. We're not asking them to memorize the events or to describe the invention of Clara of the mirror, or to, these are all not the objectives of the lesson. So if you stick to the objectives, you will make reading less stressful and more beneficial. So suggested in the book are three times of reading. So the first reading is the title, the pictures, discussion of what's happening. And you can see all of these supporting questions. For example, right here, are all of Clara's inventions good? And here she says, some ideas are not so good, but I always try again. And as you can see here, she recognizes that not all of her inventions are good, which is fine. Not everything in the world is perfect, and not everything you do is gonna come out perfect um, from the first time. And what does she do when it's not perfect? And she answers that by, when I have an idea, I always make a plan. I draw and change and draw. I do the best I can. So it's about perseverance and working hard towards a goal. And all of these are social emotional competencies that we'd like to work towards. And then the second reading is actually about reading aloud, enjoying the rhyme and rhythm, and comprehension questions, deeper comprehension questions. So here we are reading the text as a whole. We are getting introduced to Clara. We're getting introduced to the small questions, the guiding questions, and we get to learn the passive vocabulary that is in the reading. But then the second reading is a read aloud, enjoying the rhyme and rhythm, and just detailed personalization. We're going to talk about these. The third reading is a join in, where the class gets to join in, practice the poem, reflection, and opinion. So just these are all notes from your teacher's guide. So all you need to do is follow the steps of the lesson. So just, are all of Clara's inventions good? Ask them to look and decide. And then the detail, look at the buttons, what can they do? And here, these questions, the children are not meant to remember them. They're meant to go back to the text and try to find these answers. They're not meant to come in the exam as a memory test. Reading is not a memory test. If you'd like to assess this, at some point, you're going to need to provide the text for the children to go back to and answer the questions. Personalization, which invention is your favorite? Here, there's no correct answer, and we're helping them form an opinion. And then here, this is the third reading, and all of these activities are for forming an opinion and encouraging them to use words like I think, because. And then they get to join in, they get to enjoy the poem. So this is my special mirror. It changes what I see. When I click this button, I see the back of me. And then you repeat that in order for them to get the rhyme and rhythm. But something's not quite right. It's changing all my clothes. Oh no, I have long purple hair and a big long nose. Um, it is actually funny how the mirror goes wrong. And while the children read it once, twice, three times and get to join in, get to explore, they get to laugh at this and see more in the picture the more they look at it and the more they read the text. If we look at the same example of the nonfiction, here the nonfiction is about, actually, if you want to be an inventor, you need to have a notebook and you need to plan. And it shows them how this guy plans their inventions. It doesn't tell them to become an inventor, but it's a nonfiction text on, if you want to do this, this is one way of doing it. This is the text in level 5 or 6, I suppose. And it's about a young girl on a trip, but then she goes missing and she sends a cut out message to her friend. And her friend actually receives the message, but she doesn't ignore it. She acts on it. Um, the text is quite intriguing, actually. And the more the students look at it and discuss that thing. So what does she do when she feels she's unsure of something? The decision making, she decides to do something. She decides that this is not spam. This is really her friend asking her for support. And the way this is all linked to technology is going to be age relevant, and the students are going to be relating to it. The same thing here. Focus on the objectives. Here, self-management. She managed herself well under stress, displaying grit, determination, and perseverance when nobody believed her, when nobody believed that this was a real message. She persevered. Does Pia ignore her feelings and give up? Why? Why not? And all of these questions help you to achieve what you'd like. Again, first reading is about reading the whole text. Focus always on the lesson objectives. Keep it engaging, meaningful, and fun. Each page turn should be a delightful surprise. It shouldn't be stressful. Encourage going back to the text to find answers, real discussions. Even students with very limited language will have something to say. Sometimes there's no correct answer, and students need to know this. Let's look at the chat box and look at questions. Right. Is there a necessity to start with language and then the literacy? That's an excellent question, Raden, actually. It's not a necessity, it's a suggested way in order to introduce the students softly to the reading. Some students would feel intimidated if you start by the literacy. Some students wouldn't. It all goes to how you see your students responding to this, if they are ready or not, if they would struggle with the grammar, because a lot of the grammar is represented in the reading. Sometimes some teachers feel it gives them more support to start with the language book, the first part, and then go to the literacy book. Sometimes some teachers prefer to do the whole language book first, then go to the literacy. But then we'd like the literacy to come in between, in the middle, in order for all these nice thoughts to appear in the speaking and the writing. This is a suggested sandwich approach, but there is no correct way of doing it. You can start with the literacy if you'd like, if you think your students are ready for that and are happy with that. Absolutely. Thank you for the question. Okay, going back now. Now we finished the literacy, we're going to go back to the language book. Of course, in the literacy book, there are activities that are going to compare the two texts together. They are going to provide self-reflection. All of this is very clearly outlined in your teacher's book. Now, global citizenship lesson is the listening skills lesson. And here we focus on both the content and the skill. So you will have your traditional listening for just listening for specific details, listening for listen, and it's the listening skill. But here it is also focused on presenting different cultures around the world and helping the students reflect their own culture and answer questions about themselves and their homes and their environment in that. So listen to Teddy talk to Olivia about his school. Does Teddy's school have technology? This is a gist question. And then the lesson objectives explore similarities and difference between schools to think about the uses of technology in school and to practice listening for gist and detail. So it's just and then comprehension and then forming an opinion. You will see this is the opening question. How is technology used in different schools around the world? And then the listening, and then number the pictures. This is an interactive activity. And then a discussion question. What technology do you like using? Do people need technology to learn, and why? These questions do not have any correct answer. And some students might say, yes, it does facilitate learning. Some students say, no, it's not essential. You need to discuss these things with the children and really get their opinions and views on them. And it's okay actually to share yours as well and to share your personal experiences. But be careful with the younger ones, that sometimes students tend to think that the teacher's opinion is the only true one. So be careful when sharing your own opinion, that this is just an opinion. It doesn't necessarily have to be the only true one. And here there's a link to the literacy book. If you have done the literacy book before this, it actually gets you to link them together and brainstorm. So here they actually ask them they can think of any inventions that would be useful for their school, which is a really nice question if you ask me. So they've read about inventions, they've gone through the comedy with Clara, and then they've learned how to organize their thoughts to come up with an invention. So why not bring that back into the listening activity and get them to invent stuff for their school, if you can call it that. So all opinions are accepted as long as the student can justify them. The magic word for you is what makes you say that. So they are not just blurting any answers and saying whatever that comes into their head. Listening activities are not the speaking models, just as the reading is not the writing model. So the speaking. Speaking is the first productive skill. It's always presented by a model video of a student, which gives the children some confidence and a model for speaking. This, you will see that this is much lower in level than the listening skill. It is a realistic speaking productive activity, and it gives the students confidence that a child that looks just like them is producing the language. And it gives them an idea of how intonation works and how confidence look like. You're gonna love these videos, by the way. They are very energetic and the children are really cute. Students are going to relate to them. So it is very straightforward. It gives the students steps on how to plan their speaking, especially if it's a presentation skill. So the lessons alternate between take the stage and communicate. So it's either a presentation skills or a conversation skill. If you look here, the students use some writing to help them prepare their talk, but the writing is not the aim. This is a speaking activity. Students use writing as a supporting tool. What they say it doesn't have to be exactly the same as what they've written. Also focus on the lesson objective. The speaking skill is as important as the content. So there is a skill and there is the content that they are talking about. So here they are planning a technology survey and they're going to present that. This is the level 6 one. So model, discussion, then one word, and then sentences, then writing the final. Oh, this is the writing, I'm sorry. We've moved past the speaking. So here. So yes, the speaking preparation entails some writing, but it's not the main skill. They can use the writing as a way to prepare. And sometimes in younger ages, some teachers actually have given us this feedback that writing is so hard as it is. If we use writing as a preparation for speaking, it adds some of the stress. You can actually skip the part of using writing as a preparation for speaking in the younger ones, especially grades 1 and 2. They might find it a little bit challenging. What can they do? They can use drawings instead. They can use visual cues for themselves to remember what they want to talk about. But definitely, writing here is not a goal, it's a means. It's a good way to try if the students are capable of it. If they need support, you need to give them support or other tools to use. So the final step is the writing. Um, Writing, actually, everything that we have done so far, the grammar, the speaking, the thinking, the opinion forming, actually all of it pours into the writing. I'll show you here some slides that come together. If you look at this is a one word. Do, use, something. My school has a cafeteria. How often does your dad use his something? My grandma has, so we are helping them write one word. Then, what technology do you use? How often do you use it? Sometimes. So here we're integrating some of the grammar. What's your favorite technology? They need to write it. This is an example of the differentiated writing worksheets that you will find in your resource center. By differentiation here, we offer students who have very, very limited grammar or sentence formation skills or spelling skill. We're encouraging them to come up with ideas, to fill in the spaces with their own ideas. They are still not there yet. This is a part of a scaffolding technique to help them generate ideas without feeling the stress of having to write the whole paragraph. This can be used as a step for them, and then when you repeat the task, they can do it without the additional support. But for other students who are absolutely at this level, um, you can leave it at that. By then, they will have achieved the skill of actually writing their own message. For us, working on structure is important, but driving their own message is also just as important. So if you leave the worksheet at that point for now until the student is more confident, that's fine. If you use this as a first step for these types of students and then repeat the writing over and over again until they are confident, this is also an acceptable way of doing it. The most important thing in writing is being realistic in what you expect, and differentiation ensures that every student participates with real messages, even if they are not capable of writing yet. Encouraging going back to the units for spelling. Students are not asked to remember all of the spelling at this point. When they repeat the writing text, the writing, the writing activity, the writing task again and again, they will get the spelling right. Each time they will get more words right. But here we are encouraging them to practice their writing skills rather than expecting them to memorize everything. So here, we give them a model for writing, we give them comprehension questions, and we help them analyze the text. This is from level 5. Then process writing, reviewing the steps, then generating the ideas. This is actually how it's working in the upper levels 5 and 6. It gives you all this process writing thing. And so let's take a look of how it happens. So here, think and discuss. How do you and your friends use the internet? Complete the mind map. So here they are brainstorming their ideas, and then they're going to put this together in the writing task as they have analyzed this model. So this model, they analyze it, and then they brainstorm their own ideas, and then they get the output right. Each skill of these actually we can have a whole training for that. This is how it looks like as a whole lesson. So the process is here. They analyze the text, comprehension questions right here, and then they get to brainstorm their own ideas according to this analysis, and then they put it all into this plan, and then they are going to write in an external space. So this will help them plan their writing in a better way. If we look here at the language workbook, if you're using it, it can help you actually prepare the students for writing. So here, the difficulty here is 2 stars. In the language book, you will find difficulty levels in the activities. Here, they are going to complete the writing with 1 word, and then they are actually read and write sentences using the prompts. So here, the idea is there, but they're going to come up with a structure and formulate it correctly. The same thing here. So all of these are activities to help prepare them to write their own messages. Here's also a space in the workbook called My Learning Space, and it helps them more and more to brainstorm ideas, put them in categories, and then right here, think about the topic and plan the writing even more. Then the self-reflection, how well do you think you did? So this is a zoom in of the word study and categorizing. So as you can see, everything you do, all of the activities are pouring nicely into the writing. And when they have thought enough about the topic, thought enough about the structure, practiced in these activities, very, very controlled, very supported, but also giving them the freedom to say their own ideas, it will pour in nicely into their final writing task. So in short, the writing starts with a child that has something to say. They notice the pattern of the grammar, they practice the structure, then they manipulate the language on their own. This is to tell you that the grammar sections, which are called explore language, are actually the basis for your writing. Can you see that? They are using the structure to generate their own ideas. So a tip is always to end the grammar lesson with a mini production activity. If your focus is on writing, if your students struggle with writing, it's a good idea to give them these mini production activities in order to help them with the writing task. This is a text from level 1, it's called The Storm, and this is the writing task where they actually control what they write here to talk about their own room and write questions about a friend's house, then write the answers. So it helps them also describe a house. Then, when you learn a new word, try to picture it in your mind. I love that activity. Think about things and places in your house, write true sentences about them. So if we talk about a sofa, if I close my eyes, I imagine that this is the favorite place spot in the living room. This is where I relax. This is where so you write sentences while visualizing it. Even if the sentence is, my sofa is blue or beige. Do not accept answers that are not true. Shower, how do they feel when they are in the shower? Get them to visualize things first and then write true sentences about them, even if sentences are very uh, simple. So here, this is the purpose and the motive of writing. They have something to say. How do I say what I want to say? Then grammar practice focused on meaning. Then I say my own message using the language I have learned. If you look at this is an activity from level 1, and they are going to describe a crazy house. And it's so much fun. It has lots of comedy in it, which appeals to young children. And of course, there are 3 levels of differentiated worksheets where all levels of students can participate in the same activity and can enjoy the fun even if they are not capable yet. So this is an advanced level, not advanced, this is, I think, the average, this is the support, and this actually includes more preparation and planning for the students to do. So in short, these are key things not to do. Do not ask for too much too soon. Focus on form and ignore meaning. Don't do that. Don't expect children to work from memory all the time. Always get them to look back in the book. Do not accept work that is not genuine. Do not accept imitation or repetition of things that you have said. Always make sure that it's genuine and meaningful. For writing, task achievement is your main aim. A student can write a very good piece, but it is not a fact-based opinion article. If it's not the task that they were asked to do, you cannot accept that. Each writing lesson has a special focus. Make sure that this is covered. So sometimes it's going to be using the correct grammar. Sometimes it's going to be using paragraphs, punctuation. So this focus needs to be covered because all of these focus points are going to build up together. And these criteria are for self-reflection for upper primary, and this will help the students focus and practice different skills. So sometimes say combine focus points from different units and say, well, this time we're going to focus on punctuation, paragraph organization, and the use of adjectives. Let's do that in this writing. And also a good tip is to repeat the writing more than one time, because every time they repeat it, they can add to it. You can help them add things to it. If you ask for everything at the same time, they might get confused. But if you help them write a basic piece and then repeat it again and add more to it, it's going to make a difference for them. And we have very, very quickly finished our sandwich. I know it's um I know it doesn't give the book justice, and we had to finish in 1 hour, but I hope this gave you an overview of how the book works and how everything ties in together. And I look at the chat box now. So, Razan, I know we have no time, but I want to thank you for this session. You're most welcome. But the last question, do you restrict us in a special way, or it's up to us to teach considering the strategies? It's absolutely up to you, but there are do's and don'ts. Please do not overcomplicate grammar. Please do not ask the students to remember things that do not have a goal and aim, and do not accept work that is not genuine from the students. So students need to form their own opinions. Other than that, you're free to do whatever you want, you're free to think whatever you want, and you're free to use the book in whatever you want. This is just a guiding session, and if you find it comfortable, go with it. So what about the phonics part of levels 1 and 2? What about it? The phonics is actually to help students with their spelling. And at this point, phonics is not the main, synthetic phonics, I mean, it is not the main tool for the children to read. Children have learned now to use different techniques in order to read, use visual clues, use high frequency words. The texts in the book are not all decodable text. So phonics here is here to support them with even more reading, but it's mainly for spelling. And if you want to focus a dedicated session for spelling, I advise you to use just the phonics lessons. Spelling of the other words will come gradually by practice. Can I use just the literacy and language book? I don't want to use the other language book. You mean the workbook, the last one? I don't find it appropriate to my students' level. The language workbook actually serves a purpose to give more support and to give more written practice. It's up to you to use just the language and literacy book if you want, but sometimes you will find not all the students are of the same level. And when you want students to catch up to the rest of the students, you might want to use some of the supporting tools. The tool is there for you to use as you find appropriate. If you wish, if your students are well prepared and well ready and will make do with the worksheets that are in the resource center, that's fine. But you definitely don't have to use anything. We just give you the necessary tools that you might need, maybe not for all of your students, but some of your students. Sometimes some lessons are more difficult and challenging than other lessons. You might want to need the extra support. So it's a tool for you to use if appropriate and if needed. We have shown you how it's integrated in the writing preparation. It is also integrated in the grammar practice. It's integrated in the vocabulary practice. They are all additional support that we see useful, if not for all children, for some of them. Another question is the same about phonics, so I think it's a repeat. Absolutely straight to the point. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Shodwa. And yeah, I can see no more questions. We've run over by 4 minutes, which I think is fantastic regarding the amount of things that we are covered. As I told you, each one of the skills can have its own session, but this is just an overview to help you start and to help you navigate the book. Read the teacher's guide, read the teacher's guide, read the teacher's guide. It will give you if you follow it, I think this session has given you a guidance of why it's written like that and what it will help you achieve. And good luck with it. It's a really good book. It's intriguing. It's fun, and I hope you enjoy it with your students. Thank you so much. So if there are no further questions, we're happy to let you go to your loads and loads of work. I've stopped sharing the screen now, so I can go back to seeing you. And thank you very much. I think you should be able to receive the recording of this session. And yeah, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask us. Thank you all. Have a great day, and thank you for your time. Thank you so